Here's something most people never hear: you don't actually have to give up carbohydrates to get your blood sugar under control. Welcome back to the Health Insight, the channel where we dig into the real reasons behind what your body does. The truth is, the quickest path to steadier blood sugar usually comes from what you add to your plate, not from cutting out entire food groups like carbs. I've seen this play out again and again. Hundreds of my patients have watched their numbers drop in a matter of days simply by working these foods into their routine, and the results lasted, staying low without medication for months, sometimes years. So in today's video on the Health Insight, I'll walk you through exactly how to use these 10 foods to retune your body's chemistry and reverse insulin resistance right down at the cellular level, so your numbers come down fast, naturally, and in a way that actually sticks. Before we begin, a small favor. If you like videos that explain the why behind your health instead of just pushing another pill, tap subscribe to the Health Insight, drop a like, and tell me in the comments what your morning fasting number was this week. I genuinely read them, and the ages and numbers in this community shape what I make next. Alright, let's dive in. Here's what rarely gets explained in a rushed clinic appointment. High blood sugar almost always begins further upstream, with a hormone called insulin. Think of insulin as the key that opens your cells so glucose, the sugar floating in your blood, can leave the bloodstream and move into the cells where it's meant to be used. After years of blood sugar swings, your cells gradually stop responding. Insulin keeps knocking, but the door won't open. That's what we call insulin resistance. Your pancreas reacts by producing more and more insulin, yet your blood sugar still climbs. And the usual fix is a prescription that forces even more insulin into a body that's already overflowing with it. The system tends to profit when you stay unwell, not when you recover. That's just how the economics work, not bad intentions. There's simply no money and no time in a short visit to teach you how food communicates directly with your insulin receptors. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. My name is Dr. Ethan Carter, and on the Health Insight, each of these 10 foods handles one of 3 tasks. Some slow the sugar entering your blood. Some calm the inflammation that's making your cells ignore insulin. And some reactivate the insulin receptor itself, so your body returns to doing the job it was built for. You don't need to tackle all 10 at once. Bring them in gradually over a couple of weeks and let them build on each other. Let's start with the first. Number 1 is fenugreek seeds. They're tiny, firm, amber-colored seeds, and you'll find them in the spice aisle of nearly any store for just $1 or $2. If you skip this one because it sounds unfamiliar, you're overlooking one of the most effective blood sugar tools out there, and it costs less than a cup of coffee. Here's what happens inside you. Fenugreek is rich in a soluble fiber called galactomannan. When it meets the water in your stomach, it expands into a thick gel that physically slows how quickly your stomach pushes carbohydrates into your small intestine. Slower release means sugar drips into your bloodstream rather than flooding it, so no sharp spike and no frantic surge of insulin. On top of that, fenugreek contains an amino acid that helps your pancreas release insulin more efficiently and encourages your muscles to absorb glucose. In my own practice, I've seen fasting numbers fall within a week or 2 on this alone. To use it, soak a teaspoon of whole seeds in a glass of water overnight. In the morning, drink the water and eat the softened seeds before breakfast. If the slight bitterness bothers you, grind them and mix half a teaspoon into yogurt or scatter it over your eggs. Begin with a small amount, this fiber is potent, and your gut needs a few days to adjust. Number 2 is cinnamon, and chances are it's already in your kitchen, but the variety matters, and most people pick the wrong one. The common supermarket type is Cassia, which contains a compound called coumarin that can stress the liver in large daily amounts. What you actually want is Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes sold as true cinnamon. It's gentler, safer for everyday use, and it's the one I tell my own patients to choose. Cinnamon works through a family of polyphenol, natural plant compounds that act almost like insulin themselves. They help your insulin receptors hold on to glucose more firmly and slow how fast your stomach empties after eating. The effect is real and measurable. Researchers in the USDA's Human Nutrition Program found that less than half a teaspoon a day meaningfully lowered fasting glucose in adults with type 2 diabetes. Ignore this one, and you're leaving an easy win sitting on your spice shelf. Use roughly a quarter to half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon daily. Stir it into oatmeal, coffee, or a smoothie. The key is pairing it with a carbohydrate meal, since that's precisely when you want those receptors gripping harder and your stomach slowing down. Third on the list is broccoli sprouts, and I really want you to focus here, because this is the most overlooked food in the entire video. Not full-grown broccoli, the small 3-day-old sprouts. Miss that detail, and you lose nearly all the benefit. Broccoli sprouts are packed with a compound called sulforaphane, and the sprouts hold somewhere between 50 and 100 times more of it than a mature head of broccoli. Sulforaphane does something none of the other foods here do quite so directly. It travels to your liver and calms the overnight sugar factory. Your liver produces sugar while you sleep, and with insulin resistance it produces far too much, which is why so many of you wake up to an unexplained high fasting number. A 2017 study from Lund University in Sweden gave concentrated sulforaphane to people with type 2 diabetes and brought their fasting blood sugar down measurably, with the biggest improvement in those whose sugar was toughest to manage. You can grow broccoli sprouts at home in a jar for pennies, or grab them in the produce aisle. A small handful, about a quarter cup, on a salad or sandwich most days is plenty. Don't cook them hard, since high heat destroys the active compound. Eat them raw or only lightly wilted. So far, every food has done the same quiet work, slowing sugar down or reawakening the receptor, and we're only 3 in. The next 4 reshape the meals you're already eating. If someone you care about is also struggling with their numbers, pass this video along, because no one ever sits people down and explains this. Anyway, number 4 is the avocado. Most people avoid it over the calories, and that fear is hurting them. The fat in an avocado is monounsaturated, the same family as olive oil, and it's one of the friendliest things you can put on a plate for your blood sugar. The reason is simple. The healthy fat and fiber inside an avocado slow your whole meal down. Add half an avocado to a plate of rice or toast, and you're not removing the carbohydrate, you're putting the brakes on how quickly it becomes blood sugar. Glucose then rises gently instead of spiking. Monounsaturated fat has also been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells respond to insulin a little faster. In my experience, this is the easiest habit to build, because it makes meals more satisfying, so you're not hunting for a snack an hour later. Half an avocado a day is a sensible amount. Add it to your eggs, mash it onto whole grain toast, or toss it into a salad that already has a starch. Wherever there's a carbohydrate, an avocado softens the impact. Fifth is chia seeds, tiny gray and black seeds that far outperform their size. If you've ever watched chia sit in liquid and thicken into a pudding, you've already seen how it behaves in your gut. Chia is among the richest sources of soluble fiber you can buy. When it hits the water in your stomach, it forms that same thick gel we saw with fenugreek, wrapping around the carbohydrates in your meal and slowing their absorption to a crawl. Sugar then releases slowly and steadily, sparing you the spike and the crash that leave you shaky and hungry an hour later. Chia also carries a plant-based omega-3 fat that helps quiet the low-grade inflammation underlying insulin resistance. Calm that inflammation, and your cells start hearing insulin again. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day is enough. Stir it into yogurt, drop it into water with a squeeze of lemon, or blend it into a smoothie. Let it gel for about 10 minutes before drinking, and have plenty of water alongside, since all that fiber needs liquid to move. Number 6 is fatty fish, and I mean salmon and mackerel in particular. This one doesn't work by slowing your meal, it goes after the deeper issue, the reason your cells stopped listening to insulin in the first place. Insulin resistance is largely driven by chronic inflammation. When your body stays quietly inflamed year after year, that inflammation physically disrupts the insulin signal right at the cell's surface. Salmon and mackerel are loaded with 2 omega-3 fats, EPA and DHA, among the most powerful natural anti-inflammatories we know of. They turn down the inflammatory signals, the cell membrane grows healthier, and the insulin receptor starts working as it should. Over my 15 years in practice, the patients who eat fatty fish twice a week consistently show calmer, steadier numbers and better blood pressure too. Aim for 2 servings a week, each about the size of your palm. Wild salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring all work beautifully. Bake it, grill it, or buy it canned if that's easier on your wallet. Canned mackerel and sardines are some of the cheapest, most powerful foods in this whole video. 7th is walnuts. Of all the nuts, this is the one I steer patients toward first, because of what it does for your blood vessel lining and your insulin at the same time. Walnuts are rich in polyunsaturated fat and the same plant omega-3 found in chia. That fat improves the function of your endothelium, the thin lining inside your blood vessels, which is one of the first things high blood sugar damages. At the same time, the fat, fiber, and protein in walnuts blunt the post-meal rise in blood sugar and have been shown to lower fasting insulin, the number beneath your blood sugar that reveals how hard your pancreas is working. Reach for a small handful instead of crackers or a cookie, and you've turned a sugar spike into a flat line. A small handful is roughly a quarter cup, or 7 to 10 whole walnuts. Keep them raw or dry roasted, not candied or honey-coated. Use them to replace a processed snack, not to pile on top of one. Number 8 is eggs, whole eggs, yolk and all. For years people were warned the yolk was dangerous, and that bad advice pushed them toward sugary cereals that were far worse for blood sugar. Let me clear this up. A whole egg is almost entirely protein and fat with virtually no carbohydrate, so on its own it barely nudges your blood sugar. But the real benefit is what doctors call the second meal effect. Start your day with eggs instead of toast or cereal, and you steady your blood sugar not just at breakfast but all the way to lunch. You arrive at your next meal with calmer numbers and a smaller spike. The protein and fat also keep you full, so the mid-morning cravings that drag you to the cookie jar simply fade. In my practice, trading a cereal breakfast for 2 or 3 eggs is one of the single fastest changes I see on a morning glucose reading. 2 or 3 whole eggs in the morning is a solid target for most people. Scramble them, boil a batch for the week, or fold in some spinach. Lay that earlier avocado right on top, and you've built a near-perfect blood sugar breakfast. Number 9 is apple cider vinegar, and this one shows the fastest visible result on a glucose meter of anything on the list. If you keep a meter at home, you can watch it work tonight. The active ingredient is acetic acid, and it does 2 things at once. It slows your stomach from emptying, so carbohydrates reach your bloodstream gradually, and it helps your muscles pull glucose out of your blood to use as fuel. The research is strong here. Work led by Dr. Carol Johnston at Arizona State University found that a tablespoon of vinegar before a carbohydrate meal cut the after-meal spike by roughly 20 to 30% in people with insulin resistance, a drug-sized effect from something that costs a few dollars a bottle. Take 1 tablespoon, and this part matters, dilute it in a full glass of water, 10 to 15 minutes before a meal containing carbohydrates. Always dilute it. Never drink it straight, since the acid is harsh on tooth enamel and the throat. And if you already take any blood sugar medication, check with your doctor first, because vinegar combined with that medication can drop your sugar faster than you expect. The 10th food is lentils, and this one really proves the whole point of the video. Lentils are a carbohydrate, and they'll still lower your blood sugar. Here's why. Lentils are built from a slow carbohydrate called resistant starch, wrapped in soluble fiber and a generous helping of plant protein. That mix means the glucose inside the lentil releases into your blood slowly and steadily over hours rather than all at once. They even carry the second meal effect, so a bowl of lentil soup at lunch keeps your sugar steadier into the evening. Clinically, swapping white rice or white potato for lentils a few times a week is one of the most dependable ways I know to bring down an A1C, your 3-month average blood sugar. Aim for half a cup to a cup of cooked lentils a few times a week. Use them in a soup, a stew, or a cold salad with a little olive oil and a splash of the vinegar we just covered. They're filling, they're cheap, and they stretch a meal further than almost anything else. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Donna. 63, recently retired. She came to me frightened because her fasting sugar was hovering around 180, and her doctor had just said it was time to add a second medication. She didn't want to spend the rest of her life climbing the medication ladder, and she was scared of where this was headed, having watched her own mother lose toes and then her eyesight to the same disease. We didn't slash her carbohydrates to nothing. We added eggs and avocado in the morning instead of cereal, a tablespoon of vinegar before her larger meals, lentils in place of white rice, walnuts instead of the afternoon cookie, fatty fish twice a week, cinnamon in her coffee, and broccoli sprouts on her lunch sandwich. Within the first week, her fasting numbers began dropping. Within 3 months, working alongside her own doctor, she had come off that second medication entirely, and her A1C had moved from the diabetic range back toward normal. 2 years on, it's held. She didn't starve herself. She ate more food, just the right food, and her body did the rest. So let me bring all 10 together, because this is why they succeed where cutting carbs alone falls short. Every one of these foods hands your insulin its job back without leaving you hungry. The fiber foods slow glucose down so your pancreas never has to panic. The fish, walnuts, and chia cool the inflammation that was jamming the signal. The cinnamon and vinegar walk right up to the insulin receptor and help it grip again. Do this meal after meal, day after day, and the cell that stopped answering the door slowly starts opening it on the first knock. That's what reversing insulin resistance means at the cellular level. And once it happens, your body holds your sugar down on its own, which is exactly why Donna's numbers stayed low for 2 full years. Before I hand you tonight's plan, I need to draw one clear line. If you're on insulin or a sulfonylurea, one of the older blood sugar pills, these foods can lower your sugar quickly enough that your dose may suddenly be too high, which can drop you into a low. So add these foods with your doctor watching your numbers, and let them ease your medication down as your body improves. Never stop a prescription on your own. Bring this list to your next appointment instead. So here's what to do tonight, 5 simple steps. 1. Tomorrow morning, swap your cereal or toast for 2 or 3 whole eggs and half an avocado. That single change shifts your blood sugar for the whole day. 2. Tonight, soak a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in a glass of water and drink it first thing in the morning. 3. Buy Ceylon cinnamon, not Cassia, and start with a 1/4 teaspoon a day in your coffee or oatmeal. 4. Before your biggest carbohydrate meal tomorrow, take 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a full glass of water, 15 minutes ahead. 5. This week, replace white rice or white potato with lentils at least twice, and put fatty fish on the menu 2 nights. Layer these in over the next couple of weeks. You're not taking away the foods you love, you're adding the foods that protect you. Now, everything we covered today lowers your sugar during the day and after meals. But so many of you have told me the same odd thing: your highest reading of the entire day is first thing in the morning, before a single bite. You fasted all night, and your sugar climbed anyway. There's a specific reason your liver does this while you sleep, and there's a way to shut it down. I made a video right here on the Health Insight that explains exactly what's happening overnight and how to wake up to a lower number. I'll put it on the screen now. Go watch that one next, and if this helped you, subscribe to the Health Insight so you never miss what's coming. I'll see you there.